All right, good night. We are going to have to do things a little bit different tonight. Calculator on my computer is not working, so I'm going to try just doing a demo. So for tonight's notes, put the date and put down box and whisker notes with graphing calculator. And then have you pause the video in just a moment and write down, put that in there, write down these numbers because we're going to do some data with these numbers. So just pause the video and write those numbers down. Okay? All right, so basically when we're using our graphing calculator, they will do box and whisker for us. So the first thing we have to do is put our data in. So where do we put data in, I ask you? Hopefully you know it's in the stat. So you just have to hit stat and enter. Oops, try that again. Stat, right? And then you hit enter and you have your list one. So the nice thing about when you're putting all this data into your calculator is when it's in your calculator, it doesn't have to be in order. So you can just list it right away and just make sure you have all 10 digits in them. So once I have all these 10 in my list one, I want to graph box and whisker. So to do that, I have to turn on my stat plot. So make sure you're writing notes. You use second stat plot, which is your y equals. And it doesn't matter which one of these choose. We're going to choose plot 1. So I'm going to hit enter. And it's blinking on the on. So I want to hit enter so that it's on. Then if you go down an arrow, there's all types of graphs to look at. This one is dot, line, histogram. And then we kind of have two that look like box and whiskers. This one has the outliers in it. We're just going to go regular box and whisker here. Honestly, it probably doesn't make much of a difference which one you choose. And hit enter so that it's highlighted there. And you'll notice your data already goes to defaults to your data in line list 1, which is where we put it. If we put our data in list 2, we would change that to L2 by doing second number 2, but we already have it in 1. And if you have a cool calculator, you can choose which color you like. Okay. So after we do that, we want to set our window. So we're going to go to window and looking at our data here, we have the X minimum. All our data is on the X axis. So our smallest number here is 0, so I'm going to put in -1. And then the X maximum, our highest number was 25, so we can put in 30. And then the scale, we can count from 1 to 30, or we can maybe do 2s, make it a little bit squishy together. And then for the y-axis, it doesn't really matter. All our data just goes on the line on the x. So usually I put the y minimum at 0 and I keep that as a 10. But honestly, it doesn't matter. We don't have data on the y, okay? And so then very simply, we're just going to hit graph. And it graphs you your box and whisker. So this is great. We didn't have to draw it and we can get all this data. So we know with box and whiskers, what's important is the lower extreme, the upper extreme, the upper lower quartile median and that sort of thing. So we get that by hitting the trace button. If you hit the trace button, it automatically goes to the median, and at the bottom here it tells you that the median is 16. So it calculated it for you. If you right arrow, it goes to the Q3 or the upper quartile, and that tells you that that is 20. And then we can right arrow and figure out the upper extreme or maximum here is 25. And then we can go back over and figure out the Q1 or the lower extreme is 3, or excuse me, the lower quartile is 3, and then the lower extreme, of course, is 0. So it basically gets all those pieces of data for us. We can calculate the interquartile range by subtracting those two or finding the range of the box. Okay, really pretty straightforward. So we can use this to get all this data if we're not having to graph it ourselves. So this is going to be a really quick video. What I would like for you to do is copy down these numbers right here. Let's see, there should be 9 of them, I think. And then I'm going to ask you a few questions. Put them in your line 1, reset your window, and graph it, and then you should be able to answer the questions quite easily. If you don't have a graphing calculator, you'll have to do it by hand. And then we'll use this nifty little trick in class tomorrow. Good night.